with. And when I've learned is that from other couples, just because if you sleep in the same bed as somebody, you share the same house with someone, it doesn't really make you close. It's all about the emotional bond and the honesty you have with one another. And that's something that my parents had for 30. Check, check, left, right. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing on this fine day? It's currently, it's June 2nd, 11:40 a.m. Sari, what's the weather?
It's currently clear and 86 degrees.
86 degrees. The birds are chirping, not a sun in the sky. I'm very satisfied right now. I'm going to go make myself some coffee in a little bit, and we're going to go over really healthy ways to make coffee, because a lot of people might not know is that, say if you go to Starbucks and you get a latte, there's a lot of syrup in the latte, and you wouldn't think about it. Coffee, made out of beans, but there's a lot of bad sugars and bad things in a coffee. Typically, when you go to restaurants, Starbucks, right? There's not the best things in the coffee, so we'll go over that a little bit later. All right, I make the best damn coffee in the world, though. All right, so today I wanted to talk about my parents. All right, kind of my upbringing and how much my parents mean to me. As I enter my 30s, I kind of realized how grateful and how lucky I was to be able to look back and to see the life that my parents gave me. All right, so real quick, growing up, I grew up in San Diego. My dad I was very fortunate because I did come from money. My parents consistently put food on my plate, put me in athletic camps, stuff like that, and I was very fortunate to be able to do those things. So my dad played professional football. He played for the San Diego Chargers. He was drafted in 1984 in the second round. And I really appreciate my dad because he taught me a lot about life. He taught me how to stay disciplined, how to work out, how to just be a dad that authentically wanted his son to do well. So growing up, I love sports. Obviously, I was athletic. I had some. It was in the DNA. My dad ejaculated one day into my mom, and my little ass and millions of others little asses swam to the egg, and I was first. Billy came up, hit him out of the way. Ben tried coming up, smacked him out of the way. I was first into the egg, and luckily, I'm 6'4". I have some athletic genes. I could throw and catch a football, and I'm very blessed for that to be that one sperm that had those athletic, tall traits. So, so growing up, my dad, he always pushed me. He'd been through it himself, and having someone that's been through athletics and raised a family and supported a family and bought out a couple businesses, it's cool to have a person like that to be able to learn from. And now that I'm 30, I kind of realize that, damn, life's hard. Work's hard, making money's hard. And I'm 30 right now, and at this age, my dad already had 2 kids and was having me at that time. And I just have so much respect for parents that have children at this age. Like the other day, I was usually, when I come back from Exos, come back from training, I go walk around the building. That's just my routine to get out of my thoughts and kind of just relax a little bit. And as I'm walking, I see a guy probably 5 years younger than me holding this kid. And I'm like, hey, man, I have a lot, respect to have, a child at this age. He goes, thanks, man. It's a lot of work, but I love him. And if you're a kid watching this right now, and you might be in your 20s, mid-20s, even earlier, maybe 15, 30, whatever, you have to realize that it's a lot of stress to raise kids. I don't have kids. My sisters do. I have 3 beautiful nieces, and recently a nephew. My sister was pregnant about 2 months ago, and I just couldn't imagine raising a child at this age because I could barely take care of myself. I'm kind of all over the place trying to figure out life right now. And so if you're a kid watching this and maybe your parents aren't giving you exactly what you want, or you don't get to do the things that maybe someone else gets to do, just please realize that your parents are most likely trying their best to give you the life that you want. You might come from an upbringing where you don't talk to your parents, and that happens. And you might come from an upbringing where you don't get to do much. And I think what's important is to realize is that your childhood is important. It's important to talk to mom and dad, and if something's ever bothering you, I think it's important to talk to your parents about it. But at these young ages, you have to realize, if your parents aren't someone that you look up to, or they might be addicted to alcohol or drugs, usually what causes a parent to go down that route is usually from stress or something that bothers them, and so they look for external factors to help them mentally, which might be that route. So if you're a kid growing up, just if you have parents you don't look up to, maybe you learn from that, and when you have children, you can, or when you get older, you can learn from them and maybe make changes to your life. So, growing up, my dad played football, and I was into heavy sports myself. I played basketball and football, and having a dad who was a Division I college athlete, who had 30 scholarships out of high school, my dad actually, it was cool. He played free safety. No, he played quarterback in high school, got a scholarship at Northwestern, and then they moved him to free safety because he brought the boom, and then they moved him to strong safety his sophomore year, and then they moved him outside linebacker as a junior. He excelled. He set the tackle for loss record at Northwestern. He started all 4 years, and then he got the phone call by the San Diego Chargers when he was 22. That's what I have to realize, is that I have to give a lot of respect to my father, because at the age of 22, he retired his parents. He pretty much retired himself. He met my mom, who worked in the ticket office. It's actually a funny story, is that my dad got drafted to the Chargers, and usually when you get drafted, and you go around and you introduce yourself. And so my dad was in the ticket office meeting everybody. Hi, my name's Mike. I'm the new athlete. My name's Mike. And my mom worked in the ticket office, which is actually how they met. All right, so if it wasn't for my dad getting drafted to the Chargers, I might not be here right now. I mean, obviously the man decides the sex because it's his sperm, but life would be different, right? So my dad tells me the story. My mom told me the story too. It's very similar. My dad was like, "Hi, I'm Mike. Nice to meet you." My mom's like, "Hi, I'm Yvonne." And my dad shook her hand and was kind of holding on to it. And he's like, "It's nice to meet you." She's like, "It's nice to meet you too." So my dad, walks away. And then my dad would walk by the ticket office all the time, and he'd say hi to my mom, be like, "Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Good. How are you? Good." And my dad said as soon as he saw my mom, she was the most beautiful thing he ever saw in his entire life. And he told me, there was no stopping me to taking your mom out on a date. So my dad actually asked my mom, he's like, "Hey, would you ever want to go on a date with me?" And my mom was like, "No, I've been dating somebody for 5-6 years. I'm going to marry the guy. I love him, but I appreciate it. I'm flattered." My dad was like, "Okay." And so my dad approached a week later. He's like, "Hey, just come out with me one time." My mom was like, "No, I'm happy. Thank you though. I appreciate it. I'm flattered." So my dad used to send flowers to my mom at her office. My dad used to just send. My dad said he was with a relentless force. He said as soon as I saw her and talked to her, there was no stopping me, and he just kept trying. He's like, "Please," and she's like, "All right, Mom, this is a no-no." My mom was like, "All right, I'll go out with you." And so my dad picked up my mom so my mom's boyfriend was a sheriff, a cop. And then when he went out on duty, my mom went out with my dad one time. And she said my dad was so fun, he was so bubbly. And so they went out once, they went out twice, they went out 3 times. And then my mom had to say goodbye to the man that she was talking to. She said that they lived together, split the bills, all that stuff. But my mom, after going out with my dad a couple times, knew that that person wasn't the soulmate for her. And my parents just, from there on, had 3 kids, had myself. And growing up, looking back, I was just raised in a very lucky house. My dad only worked half the time. He bought out 5 UPS stores, but he was always home, and I think that was a big influence on me, is that my dad's a very positive person. If you were to meet my dad and I, we're very the same people. I'll walk up to him, "Dad, what the fuck is up?" Huh. He'll be like, "What's up, man?" Give me some high five, a big hug, and that's just who he is. And as I get older, like I said, I really look back, and I had a lot of good childhood memories. And it's sad because my mom's turning 60 this year. My dad's in his 60s now. And as I look at my dad, he looks old now. He's a grandpa of 4 now. And he's just, it's sad when I see him and he looks old now, because it's also about the time that we have together to I mean, the average NFL football player dies at age 53. All right, that's what I read on Google. My dad's 60 now, so every year I know that we're breaking the odds, and every year I just know to really enjoy my time with him. So I was talking to him earlier today. I was a little bit in all my feelings, and I just telling him, like, thank you for everything you've done for me. You know, my parents actually aren't doing as well right now. My mom, a couple years back, we had a lot of tragic shit that go down, you know, a lot of highs and lows, and my mom actually fell into a deep depression. And when it comes down to mental health, something that I've experienced myself the last couple of years, a lot of people don't know. Sometimes when they think someone's depressed, like, oh, they're just sad, like, wake up. No, it's actually like a serious mental illness. And my mom actually really lost her mind. I remember I finished out college ball, moved home, I had to get a couple surgeries. I was laying in bed, and I knew my mom was going loopy a little bit. I remember my door opens, and she's like, you got to get out right now. I kind of woke up, I'm like, what? And my dad walked in. He's like, and my mom was saying, I'm losing my mind. I need to get rid of all my triggers. You cooking in my kitchen and living here is a trigger. Get out. And people that know my mom, including myself and my sisters, my mom is the dopest chick. We've had a lot of great times together, a lot of special moments. She's really like one of my best friends. So it was crazy, and my mom actually, she lost her mind. You know, she had to go through TMS, which is electronic. You put like a helmet on your head, and they electrify your brain. She was on medication, and she just wasn't getting better, and it was actually really sad because my mom tried to take her life a couple times. And it just breaks your heart when you go from such a happy marriage, and my parents have been together 35 years, they're still together, but when they're together for so long, and your mom mentally, like, looking at my mom's eyes, it just wasn't the same. You know, she tried to take her life when I was with her one time. You know, walked into the bathroom, drank some bleach, came out, we had to rush her to the ER, and it's crazy. Also, a thing is that people go through shit, you know, and like the stuff that she went through, obviously it wasn't intended, and I think it's important to just stay by those people's sides that go through tough times. And Dad, I have nothing but respect for you. If you ever watch this, I have nothing but respect for you for the amount of sacrifice you put through this, because my mom became very negative. This is all part of the symptoms, all right? Negative and just very and she lost her mind. And so my dad was consistently there for her every single day, taking her to doctors, taking trying different medications. And when my mom just didn't want to be here anymore, it really broke my dad's heart. Think of somebody you've been with through 35 years who is your best friend and mentally starts to lose it, right? And so my dad, like, I don't know, my dad's just someone I look up to. And again, if you're somebody that has a parent that you might not talk to very much, I'm not sure what the level you on if you don't talk to him or talk to him, but sometimes a small text that says, hey, like, Mom, Dad, like, I appreciate you. Like, sometimes I just reach out to him and just say, hey, thanks for I appreciate all the sacrifice you've done for my family. So going back, sports, it was big for my dad to be there for me because he had been through the NFL process and he pushed me. And there were times, see, when it comes down to athletics, if you want it, you really have to give it your all. Personally, I didn't love football as much as my dad, but I did excel in it because I'm an athletic individual. I had my dad to help push me. And in high school, I actually did love football. So I remember I'm a junior in high school, and I got my first scholarship when I was a junior, end of the junior year. And I remember my senior year, I started getting more scholarships. I had about 4 or 5 scholarships, and there's a plane coming. And I remember that the University of Arizona called my coach, and he's like, I happened to be with him at the time. Let's pass a little bit. I like to shoot outside. It's beautiful. I'm on the balcony. Yeah, people are watching by when I'm recording, but I'm just talking from the heart. If they look up, I'm like, hey, how's it going? So I remember that I was with my coach down at the track down in high school, and he takes a call, and he's like, hey, how much do you weigh? I was like, fuck, dude. I'm a small defensive end. I was converted from safety. I told him I weighed myself earlier that day. I was like, I weigh 202, and he was like, damn, like, you're small. So he texted 202 to the coach, and immediately back, I didn't hear anything from University of Arizona anymore. And I told my dad, I was like, hey, Arizona called, I don't weigh enough. We got to do something. Like, I don't know what to do. My dad, wants to do anything for me to make it in football, and he'll bend his back for me anytime. My dad used to seriously wake me up at 2 a.m. He's like, we need to increase the calories. My dad wasn't the most knowledgeable about nutrition. All right, he just kind of thought the more you eat, the bigger you'll get. So this guy used to turn on my light at 2 a.m., wake me up. If I didn't want to wake up, he'd grab my legs and pull me out of bed. He used to make me breakfast at 2 a.m. during the school year to eat it, to go back to bed, to engulf more calories, and kind of increase my metabolism, or kind of make me eat more, right? So it's crazy, right? This guy would do anything for me. And looking back, if I didn't have my dad, like he made my highlight films for me. He put me through all my basketball camps, supported me, came to my basketball games. And because of him, I got a full scholarship at University of Nevada. Obviously, it didn't work out for me. I tried out Texas State, and then I realized that football wasn't for me, and it was hard for him to accept. But I just didn't love it when I got to college. And I just look back to think how lucky I was, and still lucky I am, to have a relationship with my dad. We kind of fell off when I personally went through my mental health journey. Like, I felt like we became very distant because I was kind of ashamed, and I felt kind of empty to tell him that I was mentally struggling. Because when you have a dad that's done it all, my dad actually has two blind special needs brothers. It's crazy. So his dad had a special needs, like they're like this, they're like this, like and so heavily special needs, like blind, drool everywhere, like this, can't stand up on their own, can't eat on their own, can't use the bathroom on their own. So my dad's dad had Billy, and then my dad, and then Tommy. So it's like 1 in a million chance when you have no background of any special needs stuff. And so, my dad grew up taking care of two special needs brothers all the time, helping his parents out, still pursuing sports, helping his mom and dad out with two highly special needs kids, pursuing sports, going to a college at home nearby down the street so he could help out with his parents, and excelling in football, getting a scholarship so his parents don't have to pay for, making it into the NFL, meeting my mom, raising a family. And every year we've gone on vacations. And then I went to 4 different universities, and I just see around how life's different for some people. They struggle with money, they struggle with finances. And I don't know, I think this podcast was more talking about, like, Dad, I appreciate you. And my goal as a father is one day is to, marry a wife that I'm very open with, honest with. And when I've learned is that from other couples, just because if you sleep in the same bed as somebody, you share the same house with someone, it doesn't really make you close. It's all about the emotional bond and the honesty you have with one another. And that's something that my parents had for 35 years, which is why they're still together. Obviously they go through a lot of ups and downs, and life's a little bit different now since my mom went through the mental health stuff. And my mom gets what's called ECT monthly. So they knock you out, they put an IV in your arm, they seizure your brain, and my mom has memory loss now. She doesn't remember a lot of things, and that's part of life now. It's a lot of things I'll say, or we'll go to a restaurant and my mom will be like, "Oh, I didn't know this was here," and we've been there 20 times together. And my dad's starting to adapt. He's kind of like, "Yeah, your mom doesn't remember a lot of things," but that's part of it. I love her for who she is. I love her for who she was. I love her now. She raised me. She's still my best friend. I love her so much. And yeah, it's just one thing that as you get older you appreciate. And my goal is to be a father like him one day, and to be able to call him my father. I'm lucky. I'm honored to be your son. And yeah, so in this life, sometimes we have to look at the smaller things and just appreciate our parents for what they do for us, whether if you come from a lot of money or not. Sometimes they're trying their best, and this day and age, life's hard. So yeah, so just keep going wherever you're at in life, and call your parents, shoot them a text, tell them you love them, and thank you for everything. So thanks, guys. Hope you have a great day, and talk to you soon. So let's fucking go.